Welcome to the NitWits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions, now in its 23rd season. Our panel features a longtime Penn State media and NitWits tag team, Neil Rudell of the Altoona Mirror, and Mark Brennan of Lions 247 with Fight on State. The NitWits are hosted by WTAJ's Jack Washer, and each week we welcome a former Nittany Lion as our special guest analyst. The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Encompass Health, a higher level of care. Encompass Healthcare. Ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing and heating and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Freedom RV Rentals, your best vacation ever. By Remax Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. By Star Beverage, no matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you. By Lions 247 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday.
Welcome to Nittany Nation Overtime.
And welcome into Nittany Nation Overtime. I am Jack Washer. Joined with me is the NitWits from left to right on your TV screen. It's Mark Brennan from FightOnState.com and Lions 247. Neil Rudell from the Altoona Mirror, and former Penn State great Keith Goon Conlin finally gracing us with his presence. Yeah. About a month late, but hey, better late than never. All right, gentlemen, Penn State 2 in a row, defeating their little brother Rutgers yesterday in Piscataway. Mark Brennan, your takeaways from the second consecutive win for the Nittany Lions.
Well, my biggest one is I like how Goon waited until after a win to come in and break things down. But, hey, you know, Penn State, again, I thought came out, this was the most prepared this team has been all year, and I think it really showed. Offensively, the offensive line played extremely well, and this is as well as I've seen that defense play since maybe the Maryland game last year. Really got after it, hitting hard, tackling. When Matt Millen 2 weeks ago says this is a poor tackling team, and then this week he comes out and says, you know what, they addressed a lot of those things. I think those are positives, maybe better late than never scenario here.
Yeah, I think that they are now developing an identity, and some of that is on offense. You're going to rely on a line that you thought would be good, and defensively, that unit has been challenged, and I think they made a conscious effort, obviously, to run the ball. When you bring your backup quarterback in and he runs 17 times, another 25 carries by the quarterback, and not attempt to pass. I mean, that's just an amazing stat. Because typically you bring a backup in, he's at least going to throw some passes. So, you know, I thought that game planning worked well.
Yeah, was very excited about how they came out to play. I had talked on my radio show all last week, like Maryland and Rutgers are all kids who wanted to go to Penn State. Yeah. They didn't get in. They weren't recruited by Penn State, so they always had a chip on their shoulder. So I try to let people know that, and I hope that our players have known that. If we came out like we did against Maryland, the same thing would have happened. And I was very happy how we came out offensively and defensively, and getting those 2 fourth-down stops in the first quarter really set the tone, really gave the identity to the defense, and they were really up and going and playing the whole game. And you guys tell me, have you ever seen a Penn State team play more people than they have in the last 2 weeks? I mean, if you have a uniform, you've been in those games.
Yeah, especially on defense. I think that's amped up the competition level for some of these guys that may have been a little complacent, or they've had a lot of moving parts through the illness or the COVID or injuries as well.
Well, it gives you have some flexibility. I mean, I hate to say that you're not really playing for anything, but it's actually true. So what you are playing for is kind of pride and to develop some of the younger players. I thought it was outstanding. You know, people may have missed it, but at the end of that game, they had a bunch of redshirt freshmen and true freshmen playing on defense, especially on the defensive line, a couple guys who had never played before. And to be able to do that, building toward bigger and better things. The coaching staff is never going to say build toward next year, that sort of thing. They can't say that. But I think if they're able to use this last stretch of games to springboard toward next year, real positive.
And what it's done is really up the ante for the starters. I mean, you get guys who are hungry behind you. I mean, those guys up front were playing pretty well Saturday.
Neil, do you think the most stable coordinator on this staff has been Brent Pry? And I feel the defense has underperformed up until the last couple of weeks. Do you think he kind of took it as a challenge? Maybe he doesn't hear Matt Millen, but seeing his defense underperform and then really coming out with 2 great efforts against Michigan and Rutgers and really kind of showing what Penn State was and what got them to last year and winning the Cotton Bowl.
Well, they all say they block out the noise, so to speak. But hey, these people are human. They go home. They have families. They hear what this person said or that. I mean, that's their business and their life. Hopefully. I mean, I'm sure what Matt Millen said got through to the staff.
He was
about
right.
The lack of tackling, and the tackling has improved tremendously.
Yeah, the other thing I liked was the complementary aspect, complementary with an E, as journalists would know. But Goon, when you talked about having those 2 fourth down stops, then the offense turned those into points.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was missing all year until these last couple of games. And to finally see one unit do well and then the other capitalize, or the offense turn the ball over on a fumble and then the defense pick it up and say, hey, we got your back, I think that was really, really positive toward the end of this year.
Goon, as a former offensive lineman, I think that position group was the most stable coming back. And again, I think they've been underperforming up until the last couple of weeks. They ran it down Michigan's throat. And I know Neil has issues with the quarterback running, but at least on the running back side, they're creating lanes, and you see them just gash Rutgers and Michigan. As a former offensive lineman, just how good is that to see?
Well, it's great. I mean, the greatest friend of a passing game is a good run game. There's no doubt about that. I mean, we got guys who are out there. Don't kid yourself. The tight ends are blocking well too. Our offensive line has really stepped up big time, and it's about cohesiveness. I mean, I would not, as an ex-player, would have want to gone through the camp that these guys had gone through, where they were playing, they weren't playing, because camp is already a struggle anyway for an offensive lineman, because you need to work on timing and cohesiveness, and when you don't have that, it's an issue when it reared its ugly head for the first 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, and building off that, Goon, Phil Troutwine, you have a new coach too coming in, so that could not have been easy. Phil Troutwine, we were tough on the offensive line early in the year, but I think you have to give him a lot of credit for not, hearing any of the noise and for helping that group come together.
Well, same with Scott too.
Yeah.
So you had a big transition, the new defensive line coach, who really replaced a guy who was viewed as kind of a heart and soul of the program with Coach Chaos. So, the effort, staying on blocks, getting off blocks, this game was really won up front.
And the other thing I say is that, you're talking about Matt Millen and the team listening to them. If they need that to work that us versus them mentality, it's us against the world, it's working for us for the last 2 weeks, so I would just keep going with it. I mean, we're doing so much better stuff right now within the team that if that's what they needed to do it, then use it.
All right, still ahead on the show, we're going to get Neil. Let him get everything off his chest with regards to the quarterbacks running the football and whatnot. Does he have a solution, though? We'll find all of that out next.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Encompass Health, a higher level of care. Encompass Healthcare. Ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
All right, welcome back to Nittany Nation Overtime. Neil Rudell, all right, every week you send me the script, the rundown, and I believe 6 out of 7, maybe 7 out of 7, it has involved the quarterbacks running. Either it's too much, you don't like it. So let's get it all out in the open. This is a little therapy session for everyone right now. What can Penn State do to fix it, and why does it bother you?
Well, I'm just happy you're reading the script.
You want to get out of here real quick?
Yeah, we're going.
We got about a 15-minute.
Hey, it worked yesterday. It got a win. But I just, you have a fullback that you're bringing in to play backup quarterback now. So I think you can have the flexibility down in the goal line to maybe have an occasional package that you have a jumbo set and a fullback. They've been using double tight ends. That's power football. They want to play power football right now. But, I just think that big picture-wise, I don't know if it's sustainable at the highest level where you want to go. Where you want to beat Ohio State. If you're going to be running your quarterback on all these quarterback draws, I question that. I think the quarterbacks are taking a beating, and I think it denies some other opportunities for skill players. That's I've been saying.
If you watch the highlights, as soon as Levis comes into the game, they're bringing the house. I mean, they know it's coming, and there's no run pass option. It's now run for your life.
Well, not only
as the game wore on, excuse me.
Yeah, but not only that, one of our moderators, PSU Mountain Bike, I'll give him a shout out. Not only was Levis not passing the ball, he wasn't handing it off either. He wasn't even getting. So everybody knew exactly what was going to happen. Another thing that jumped out to me in that game, I was watching it on TV. Olivia Decker, the sideline reporter, said James Franklin said to her at halftime that Clifford has to stop sliding so much. And I don't know if there was something lost in the translation, but I would think you want Clifford, if he's running, to slide and avoid the hits. He's been turnover prone. He's been banged up injury-wise last year. I don't think you want him initiating contact.
I just think they have to have more imagination. I mean, maybe after you've run Levis a dozen times, you could have had him take half a step and hit an open tight end or something to play off this. But I mean, I think Kirk Ciarrocca has got a good track record. They won the game, but this isn't bedrock high. I just think you can do better.
I mean, I'm sorry to jump in on you, but Clifford throws a great ball down the seam. Probably the best I've seen at Penn State. Does not throw fades well. So why are we pushing the fades into the end zone?
Well,
and
they
stuff
got away
like that?
from those.
So you drop the tight end, the running back flare opens up the middle, down the middle for those long passes, and you play to his strength.
I do think they got the ball out of Clifford's hands a lot faster these last couple weeks, and the drop backs where he was getting sacked, where Levis was getting sacked. The thing about Levis is everybody talks about what a strong arm he has. So it'd be nice to see it.
Must not be accurate. One thing, just so people know, Kirk Ciarrocca actually met with the media via Zoom. And he was asked that question. I think Corey Geiger asked about the fade patterns, and he said they work in practice. So, sooner or later, something works in practice, great. But if it's not working in the game, I think you have to take a look at some other things.
And with that win there the other day, you knew you were not going to throw fades that game.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
no, the thing I don't want to harp too much on the quarterbacks, but I think Clifford's greatest unknown weapon is his ability to extend plays and pick up those first downs. But I think they had a 4th and 3 in the fourth quarter, and they do a quarterback draw. That's not his strength. No one's scared when Sean Clifford's coming downhill at you. Now, Will Levis, that's a different story. So I think Clifford running isn't a big deal, but when it's a design quarterback run, I don't know, Goon, if you see someone who's maybe not as physically intimidating coming at you, I don't think you're as nervous as if you're a defense.
Well, I mean, my personal opinion is I thought that the first 3 or 4 games that Clifford was trying to do too much.
Yeah.
And they got that out of his hand. They took him out. He sat back. He did the right thing. He watched the game from the sideline, stayed involved in the games, and he gets put back in there, and it looks like he's playing a different game right now.
All right. Let's move on.
An abrupt end.
Coming up next, one of the greatest moments of the season, and you probably didn't realize it. We'll talk about that next.
The NitWits are brought to you by Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing and heating and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Freedom RV Rentals, your best vacation ever. By Remax Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
All right, welcome back to the show. Now, in the second quarter, Penn State went up 17-0 on a Devin Ford run, and I thought it was such an awesome moment with what we found out post-game, that Ford lost his brother about a week ago, had to miss the Michigan game, and just to see him get in the end zone, and we didn't know at the time, but just to see the emotion, and post-game, he was open about everything and whatnot. Mark, what did you think of just that moment, not knowing it at the time, but afterwards, just how cool that was?
Yeah, I mean, all the credit in the world to him for coming back and playing in a very difficult situation, and not only playing, but playing well. I thought both running backs played well. But, one thing I will say about this team is the way that guys carry themselves in press conferences, win or lose, they're very good. And for him to actually be proactive about something like that, very difficult thing to talk about. He's a young guy, and he's talking about losing his brother. And your heart goes out to him. And it was also pretty cool to see all the reporters. We're usually, kind of tough on people. Everybody giving their condolences because your heart goes out, and to see him be able to make that play was big.
Yeah, and obviously he scored an unfortunate touchdown against Indiana. So to be able to
Mr.
score
Wet
a couple
Blanket.
more, I think is great. And, he's been a pretty good player here so far this year, and he's a young player. I thought he played well yesterday. 3 guys had 65 yards. So he's one of them.
I just can't imagine having to go through what he went through. I mean, and having to come back a week later. I mean, you want to get that stuff, get that behind you and all, and your teammates can rally behind you, and then you score a touchdown like that, and who that was for. So
yeah, one other thing I'll throw in about this is, in this year, it would have been real easy for a lot of players to kind of lose it, to kind of say, you know what, I'm all about me. You have Sean Clifford, who stayed a team player, and now things are paying off. You have Devin Ford. You think that was easy for him going through that difficult situation, and then seeing a freshman step up and be Big Ten Player of the Week? Nothing negative whatsoever. All positive, nothing but support from Devin Ford to the younger backs. Again, Clifford's been nothing but supportive of Levis of Clifford. So as difficult as this season has been, it's been nice to see that Dev kept his team together, and his team has kept itself together.
And we've heard that Pat Frymuth was on the sidelines traveling with the team still. I mean, there's a guy right there.
Arm and sling.
Go start rehabbing in Florida or Arizona, get ready for the draft or whatnot, but he's still with the team and still supporting these guys. That's great.
There was a lot of disappointment early in the year, obviously the first at least half of the year, but it doesn't look like they really lost the team. There's still been effort, pride that they're playing with. And I agree with you, because you don't know all the behind-the-scenes stuff, especially this year because there's been a disconnect. But guys are still with it that maybe don't have to be, and their leader of the team wasn't at the very beginning of the season. Yeah. So,
it wouldn't be college football without controversy, and in 2020 we're going to have it with all the postponements and everything. But I want to throw a little curveball to the group. So, yesterday, Stadium reported that the Big Ten is considering changing its rules in terms of how they're going to send the Big Ten East champion to Indianapolis. Now, Ohio State may not play against Michigan on Saturday, which means they would only have 5 games. You need 6 in order to qualify. If Penn State was in that exact same situation, do you think the Big Ten would do this? Or is it because Ohio State is such a big name brand and they're right now the number 4 team in the country?
Goon's got to answer
that
one.
Is this a question or? Let me think there. 1994, they wouldn't have done a thing for us. But in 2020, when they need a couple $100 million to get one of these teams into the college football playoffs, let's put 2 and 2 together, guys.
Yeah, I agree. I think they would absolutely do it for Penn State or anybody else. If that's your best team, I think you want them going to that championship game and having an opportunity to play in the college football playoffs.
Yeah, and even if Ohio State doesn't play this week, I think they've already proven that they belong among the elite. And I think everybody who's following the Big Ten should want them there, because if they're not there, it's going to hurt the Big Ten.
I think they have. Honest to God, I really do think. I think they are the best team in the country.
I will say one other thing. It was nice to see Larry Johnson get a win. Fantastic. I mean, that guy really represented Penn State well when he was at Penn State, and I think a lot of Penn State fans, even though he's with the dreaded Buckeyes, have a place in their heart for that guy because he did a lot of good things for a lot of years at Penn State. So congratulations, Larry Johnson.
Quick thing, Goon, one last thing on the Rutgers thing. Your former coach Greg Schiano,
Sure.
back on the sidelines for Rutgers and whatnot. How do you think he's done so far, kind of trying to really revive that program when it's just been such a joke for the last 5-6 years?
Yeah, he's going to try and resuscitate it for the second time. I know Greg. We all know Greg, and that he is a tough New Jersey guy. Yesterday was so important for us to go out and win that game because that had 5 or 10 year ramifications if they had lost that game when it comes to recruiting. I mean, you know as well as I do how many guys we've gotten from Jersey over the years. I mean, Jersey and Ohio, and then the Pennsylvania kids, the Maryland, the 5-hour window is what we always talked about with the Paterno thing. But with Greg, that would be his first recruiting pitch right there. Is why do you want to go to Penn State? We beat them last year. And that's recruiting. That's the way it is, and that's the way Greg is. I mean, he's a competitive guy, and he will turn that thing around again.
They play really hard, and they're very much improved. I mean, it's 20-7 with 8 minutes to go, and Penn State had really dominated the game. To me, that's because of how competitive Rutgers really was.
Yeah, and it's nice to see Rutgers being competitive. That was the first game this year they were held under 20 points. They went into that thing averaging over 30 points per game, 5th in the Big Ten in scoring. So, yeah, credit to Rutgers, but also give Penn State a lot of credit. What Goon said, not only going in there, but going in there and dominating.
Yep. All right, coming up next, Sparty comes to town. It's prediction time. Plus, we talk about how I'm on the biggest heater of my life.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Dorman's Jewelry. The answer is always Dorman's. By Star Beverage. No matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Kogan Electric. Lighting the way for you. By Lions 247 with Fight on State. Your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
All right, welcome back to the show. Let's take a look at our updated standings. I finally got on the board thanks to that late field goal.
And he puts himself at the top.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's our lovely director,
order.
CEO, who does that for me. So thank you, Chris.
Everybody's still in it.
And whatnot.
I'm killing it.
Including the deflated ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, the deflated ball and the guests right now is currently our leaders right now. All right, Penn State, Michigan State. Penn State about a 2-touchdown favorite. I will go first. I think it's going to be a close game. I think Michigan State covers, but I think Penn State wins in the end. I'm going 27-17. Let's go to you, Goon Conlon.
Sparty is one of those, you have no idea who's going to show up, but I watched a little bit of the Ohio State game the other day during our game, and they're not showing up. So, it's just a big game for Penn State. I think we've turned the corner, so I'm going to go 35-17 Penn State.
I'll go next. This game always reminds me of the late, great Pat Boland, a radio star in State College, because of the awesome land grant trophy. I think Penn State is going to be fueled by motivation to maintain the LGT, come away with a relatively easy 35-20 victory. Defense plays well, maybe even scores a touchdown.
Yeah, I just wonder how much Penn State can score. Can they score 30 points?
Well, if the defense scores a touchdown.
Well, maybe. Michigan State played hard against Northwestern. We'll see how much pride they have. They're a first-year coach. I'm going to say Penn State 28, Michigan State 22.
I'm eyeballing Rudell over here. He's about the size of the land grant
He is.
trophy.
Can we pick him
Now
up
that I
and
think about it,
carry him off?
We should have the red shirt freshman defensive line run you off the field.
You're lucky we have to socially distance, or we would have.
You guys need
I
Will
have you
Levis
on my shoulder.
The land grant trophy size.
Neil, now
man
you
as
can't
well.
say that it was just me picking on you. Everyone was picking on you and whatnot. It's equal treatment. But yeah, no, Michigan State, I think they've been so bizarre this year. You beat Michigan, you lose to Rutgers, you beat Northwestern, then you get bulldozed by Ohio State, although I think we all saw that coming and whatnot. So, yeah, but, Michigan State is an underdog. Granted, Mark D'Antonio's not there anymore, but that would be always kind of their spot where you never want to really pick against them. But we all did, and so hopefully the deflated ball does not make an appearance next week. But for Mark, Neil, and Goon, I'm Jack. We'll see you next week, hopefully talking about another win for Penn State, and who will they be playing for their 9th game of the season. We'll see you next week.
The Nitwits have been brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Encompass Health, a higher level of care. Encompass Healthcare. Ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing and heating and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Freedom RV, Freedom RV Rentals, your best vacation ever. By Remax Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. By Star Beverage, no matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you. By Lions 247 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.